Success is not an accident. It's not something that happens by chance or through bursts of inspiration. Success is the product of who you are and the daily actions you take. Every goal you set, every habit you form, and every outcome you achieve is the result of consistent choices, decisions, and actions. But often, the missing piece in the equation of success is the identity you cultivate. Your identity is the lens through which you see the world and, more importantly, the way you see yourself. It's shaped by your beliefs, your values, and your actions. The more you act in alignment with a particular identity, the more that identity becomes who you are. If you want to become a successful person, you must start by seeing yourself as one, and then take daily actions that reinforce that belief. But here's the truth. Our actions don't just reflect our identity. They also shape it. It's not just about thinking of yourself as disciplined, motivated, and successful. It's about acting in a way that reinforces those beliefs every single day. Whether you realize it or not, your daily actions are the building blocks of the identity you want to create. Every time you choose to show up, take action, and stay consistent, you are reinforcing your identity as a successful person. This isn't about a one-time burst of energy or motivation. It's about the compound effect of consistent actions over time. The smallest decisions you make on a daily basis create the momentum that propels you toward your bigger goals. If you show up every day, even when you don't feel like it, you reinforce your identity as someone who is committed, driven, and disciplined. Over time, those actions become ingrained in your daily life, and your identity shifts to align with your goals. In this audiobook, we're going to explore how you can actively shape your identity through the power of daily actions. You'll learn how to build habits that align with the person you want to become, how to break free from limiting beliefs, and how to stay consistent even when challenges arise. Through small, intentional actions, you can create a success-oriented identity that will drive you toward your goals, not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. The road to success isn't paved with perfection or grand gestures. It's paved with the consistent, focused actions you take every day. This is the key to creating lasting change in your life. Understanding that your identity and actions are interwoven, and that every action you take shapes who you are and who you will become. So, let's begin the journey of building an identity that reflects the success you want to achieve. Through daily actions, you can become the person you aspire to be, and that's where true success begins. Chapter 1. Understanding the power of identity. Our identity is the most powerful force driving our actions and behaviors. It shapes how we perceive ourselves, how we interact with the world, and most importantly, it dictates the choices we make every day. At the core of all our decisions lies one fundamental question: who do you believe you are? We often think of success as the result of hard work, talent, or luck. But in reality, success begins with identity. Who we believe ourselves to be has a profound influence on how we behave and the outcomes we create. If you see yourself as someone who is disciplined, focused, and capable of achieving your goals, your actions will align with those beliefs. Conversely, if you view yourself as someone who is easily distracted, lacks self-control, or isn't capable of success, your actions will reinforce those beliefs, often leading to the results you expect. In this chapter, we will delve into the concept of identity, what it is, how it shapes our behavior, and why it plays such a crucial role in determining success. We will also explore how to intentionally reshape your identity to align with the success you want to achieve, allowing you to act in ways that support your goals and values. What is identity, and how does it shape our behavior? At its core, identity is how we perceive ourselves. It's the sum total of our beliefs, values, and experiences that inform who we believe we are. Our identity is not fixed, it's a fluid, evolving concept shaped by our thoughts, behaviors, and actions. It's the mental and emotional story we tell ourselves about who we are and what we are capable of. Your identity is the lens through which you interpret the world. It shapes your decisions, determines your emotional responses, and influences how you approach challenges and opportunities. For example, if you identify as a runner, you're more likely to make decisions that support that identity, setting aside time to run, following a training plan, and prioritizing health. If you identify as a successful business owner, your daily actions will reflect that, whether it's making decisions based on long-term strategy, seeking growth opportunities, or taking calculated risks. This same principle applies to all areas of life, including personal development, career growth, health, relationships, and more. The actions you take every day reinforce the identity you hold, and that identity, in turn, dictates the results you achieve. So, when you make consistent, disciplined choices that reflect a success-oriented identity, you naturally start to build the habits and behaviors that lead to lasting success. The power of identity beliefs. The beliefs you hold about your identity are deeply ingrained in your subconscious mind, influencing the choices you make without you even realizing it. If you identify as someone who is disciplined, driven, and goal-oriented, your subconscious mind will automatically steer you toward actions that align with that identity. These actions become habits, and those habits shape the future version of you. On the other hand, if you believe you lack discipline or struggle to stay focused, you are more likely to make choices that reinforce that belief. Identity-driven behavior is so powerful that it can either limit or propel you toward your goals. One of the most transformative shifts you can make is to consciously identify as the person you want to become. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who is constantly struggling with self-discipline, start viewing yourself as someone who is naturally focused, organized, and committed to growth. When you embody this new identity, you begin to act in ways that align with it. Over time, this shift becomes permanent, as your actions continuously reinforce the identity you've chosen for yourself. The cycle of identity and behavior. The relationship between identity and behavior is cyclical. Your identity shapes your actions, and those actions, over time, reshape your identity. This cycle creates momentum, either positive or negative, depending on the identity you have adopted. Let's break it down. Identity shapes actions. The beliefs you hold about yourself influence the way you behave. If you see yourself as a focused, disciplined individual, you will likely make decisions that reflect that identity, such as setting aside time for deep work, staying organized, and avoiding distractions. Actions reinforce identity. The more you take action in alignment with your identity, the more that identity becomes ingrained. If you regularly make disciplined choices, your brain starts to reinforce the belief that you are someone who is capable of staying focused and achieving your goals. Results shape your self-image. Over time, the results of your actions, for example, completing projects, hitting goals, staying on track, reinforce your identity. As you achieve success, your self-image as a disciplined, focused individual becomes stronger. Identity evolves. As your identity strengthens, it drives even more positive actions, creating a continuous cycle of growth and success. This cycle is not limited to positive outcomes. If you identify as someone who is constantly distracted or procrastinates, your actions will reinforce those behaviors. The cycle of self-doubt and inaction becomes self-perpetuating. That's why changing your identity is so critical to breaking free from unproductive habits and creating lasting change. Shifting your identity to align with success. Changing your identity isn't a one-time event. It's a process of consistent action and self-reflection. To shift your identity towards success, you need to take intentional steps to align your behaviors with. Start with a clear vision of who you want to be. The first step in reshaping your identity is to define the person you want to become. What qualities, habits, and behaviors do you want to embody? Instead of focusing solely on what you want to achieve, focus on who you need to be to achieve those things. For example, if your goal is to be more productive, the question is not just, how can I get more done? But what type of person gets things done consistently? This helps you shift from goal-oriented thinking to identity-driven thinking. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I need to be to succeed in my career? What traits does a disciplined person embody? How does a successful entrepreneur think and behave? By clarifying the identity that aligns with your goals, you create a foundation for the actions you need to take to make that identity a reality. Align your actions with your identity. Once you've defined the person you want to become, it's time to align your daily actions with that identity. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, for example, begin by taking actions that reflect an entrepreneurial mindset. Prioritize your work, stay focused, take calculated risks, and continually learn. By doing so, you reinforce the identity of someone who is committed to their business and success. Start small. Choose one area of your life where you want to strengthen your identity. If your goal is to develop discipline in your fitness routine, start by committing to daily exercise, even if it's just a short walk or a 10-minute workout. By doing this consistently, you reinforce the identity of someone who values health and fitness. Over time, as you continue to take actions that align with the person you want to be, your identity will shift. The more you show up, the more you reinforce that success-oriented version of yourself, overcoming identity resistance. As you begin to shift your identity, you will inevitably face resistance. Our brains are wired to seek comfort and familiarity, and any change, especially in how we see ourselves, can feel uncomfortable at first. You may encounter moments of self-doubt or resistance, but it's important to recognize that these feelings are normal. They are a sign that you are growing and stepping out of your comfort zone. To overcome this resistance, focus on taking small, manageable actions. Every time you show up and take action, even when it feels difficult, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of change. This process of incremental action builds momentum, which helps you push through the discomfort and make the new identity feel more natural. Conclusion: identity is the key to lasting success. Your identity is not just a reflection of who you are today, it is the blueprint for the future version of yourself. The more you act in alignment with a success-oriented identity, the more you will become that person. Your identity shapes your actions, and your actions reinforce your identity. This powerful cycle creates momentum, and over time, it leads to the results you desire. If you want to achieve lasting success, you must first develop the identity of someone who is capable of success. This means taking consistent, deliberate actions that reflect that identity every day. It's not enough to simply want success. It's about becoming the type of person who consistently makes disciplined, intentional choices. By understanding the power of identity and how it shapes your behavior, you can create lasting change in your life. The more you take action in alignment with the person you want to be, the more your identity will evolve, and the closer you'll get to your goals. Success is not a destination. It's the byproduct of who you are and the daily actions you take. Chapter 2. The link between actions and identity. We often hear the phrase, actions speak louder than words. While this is true in many contexts, what's even more powerful is the idea that our actions shape our identity, and our identity shapes our actions. This dynamic relationship between what we do and who we believe we are is one of the most fundamental forces driving our success, habits, and personal growth. In this chapter, we'll explore how daily actions can actively shape your identity, and how, in turn, your identity shapes the actions you take. This is a crucial concept because success, fulfillment, and personal growth are not just about setting goals or having dreams. They are deeply connected to how we consistently show up and the choices we make on a daily basis. By understanding the profound connection between your actions and your identity, you can begin to take control of both. You can consciously shape the person you want to become by deliberately aligning your actions with the identity that reflects your highest potential. In doing so, you'll be able to make lasting changes that move you closer to the success you desire. How actions reinforce and shape identity. At the core of any transformation is the idea that our actions define who we are. Every action we take sends a message to ourselves about who we believe we are. This might sound simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Whether you're aware of it or not, the actions you take every day contribute to the person you are becoming. Small actions lead to big identity shifts. Think about it this way. If you consistently wake up early and follow a morning routine that sets you up for success, you begin to see yourself as someone who is disciplined, responsible, and goal-oriented. But if you continue to hit the snooze button and skip your morning routine, you reinforce an identity of someone who is disorganized, lacks discipline, or doesn't prioritize their goals. These small actions, repeated over time, accumulate and form the foundation of your identity. Your identity is not defined by your big achievements. It's built through consistent, daily actions. These actions build habits, and habits form your character. For example, if you consistently make time for physical exercise, you begin to see yourself as a healthy, fit person. If you regularly engage in productive, focused work, you start to identify as someone who is focused and successful. The actions you choose to repeat are the actions that slowly but surely define you, reinforcing positive behaviors with positive actions. The more you align your actions with the identity you desire, the easier it becomes to make those actions a natural part of your life. For instance, if you want to be seen as a successful entrepreneur, take actions that reinforce that identity. Start by setting clear goals, creating a plan, and dedicating time each day to work toward your business objectives. These small, consistent actions, such as brainstorming new ideas, working on your business plan, or networking, will help solidify the identity of an entrepreneur. It's important to realize that positive actions are self-reinforcing. Every time you act in alignment with your desired identity, you strengthen that identity in your mind. This reinforces your belief in yourself, builds confidence, and creates a positive feedback loop that propels you forward. How identity shapes our actions. Just as our actions shape our identity shapes our actions. The way we see ourselves influences the choices we make on a daily basis. If you see yourself as someone who is hardworking and focused, your decisions and behaviors will align with that belief. Conversely, if you see yourself as someone who is prone to procrastination or lacking self-discipline, you may find yourself making excuses or avoiding tasks. The self-fulfilling prophecy. One of the most powerful aspects of identity is the self-fulfilling prophecy. This refers to the idea that the expectations we hold for ourselves often come true because we behave in ways that align with those expectations. If you identify as a procrastinator, you are likely to procrastinate because that is what you believe you do. But if you identify as someone who takes action, you are more likely to follow through on tasks without hesitation. For example, consider someone who has struggled with procrastination in the past. If they continue to label themselves as a procrastinator, they will likely fall into the same patterns of delay and avoidance. However, if they begin to shift their identity to someone who takes action, they will start to seek out opportunities to take small steps forward, which will reinforce the new identity of being proactive, changing identity through new behaviors. The beauty of identity is that it is not fixed. While it's true that our past actions have shaped who we are today, it's also true that we have the power to change our identity through new, intentional actions. This process starts with recognizing that your current behaviors do not have to define you forever. If you want to become a more disciplined person, for example, you can start by making small, deliberate choices that align with that goal. By taking action in alignment with the person you want to become, you shift your self-perception. You become someone who shows up consistently, takes initiative, and achieves goals, all because your actions are reinforcing this new identity. The role of consistency in building identity. Consistency is the key to turning positive actions into a new identity. One of the biggest challenges we face in personal growth is maintaining consistency, especially when results are not immediately visible. But it's important to remember that identity is not built overnight. It's a long-term process that requires ongoing commitment, building momentum with small wins. Success, especially in the early stages of building a new identity, often feels slow and incremental. However, small wins are incredibly powerful. Every time you complete a task, take action, or make progress toward your goals, you reinforce the belief that you are a successful, disciplined person. These small wins accumulate and build momentum, gradually transforming your behavior and your identity. Think of it like exercising to build muscle. At first, the changes are subtle, but with consistent effort, the results become more visible and noticeable. Similarly, as you continue to act in ways that align with your new identity, the changes in your mindset, behavior, and ultimately your success become more profound and lasting. The impact of identity on long-term success. Identity is not only about how you act today, but also about how you act in the long run. The consistency of your daily actions determines the sustainability of your success. To achieve long-term success, you must adopt an identity that aligns with sustained effort and perseverance. The role of patience and long-term focus. One of the most significant benefits of developing a success-oriented identity is the long-term focus it provides. When you see yourself as someone who is capable of achieving success, your actions are driven by a belief in your long-term goals. This belief keeps you motivated, even when progress seems slow or the results are not immediate. Long-term success requires patience. It's easy to be motivated by short-term rewards or immediate results, but real success is built over time. When you identify as someone who is committed to the journey and understands the value of consistent effort, you are more likely to remain focused, even through challenges. Taking control of your identity through actions. The key takeaway from this chapter is that your identity and actions are inseparable. They feed into each other, creating a powerful cycle that shapes your future. To change your life, you must first change how you see yourself. And the best way to do this is by taking consistent action that aligns with the person you want to become. Remember, identity is not fixed. It's something that can be consciously developed through daily choices. By aligning your actions with the identity you wish to cultivate, you begin to build a new self-image that supports your success. Over time, this process becomes self-reinforcing, creating lasting habits and behaviors that propel you toward your goals. The success you seek is already within you. It's a matter of aligning your actions with the identity of someone who achieves success. By focusing on small, consistent actions that reflect your desired identity, you will gradually create the person you aspire to be. Chapter 3. Overcoming resistance and self-doubt. No matter how motivated or determined you are, you will inevitably face resistance and self-doubt on your journey to success. These two forces are universal challenges that everyone encounters, regardless of their goals or level of ambition. Resistance comes in many forms: procrastination, distraction, fear, and even laziness. Self-doubt, on the other hand, manifests as that inner voice questioning your ability, your worth, and whether or not you're capable of achieving your dreams. While these challenges are normal, they can also be incredibly powerful barriers to progress. The key to success is not in avoiding them, but in learning how to overcome them. In this chapter, we will explore the nature of resistance and self-doubt, why they arise, and, most importantly, how you can push through them to create the success-oriented identity you desire. Understanding resistance. Why we struggle to take action. Resistance is the force that causes us to avoid doing the things we know we should do. It's that inner voice telling you to check your phone instead of focusing on your work, or convincing you that it's better to relax than go to the gym. Resistance doesn't always appear as an obvious obstacle sometimes. It can be subtle or disguised as just needing a break or waiting for the right time. However, the truth is that resistance is always present, especially when you're about to take meaningful action toward your goals. The psychology of resistance. Resistance is an instinctive part of the human psyche. Our brains are wired for survival, and in evolutionary terms, taking risks or pushing through discomfort can feel threatening. This explains why so many people procrastinate or delay taking action, even when they know the task is important for their long-term goals. Our brains are designed to seek comfort and avoid pain. Taking action toward big goals often involves discomfort, whether physical, emotional, or mental. The most common form of resistance is procrastination. We put things off because the work feels overwhelming or we fear the outcome. It's easier to procrastinate than to face the discomfort of tackling something difficult or unknown. However, procrastination is not laziness. It's a coping mechanism for fear, overwhelm, or uncertainty. Recognizing resistance in daily life. Resistance can manifest in many ways. Procrastination, delaying important tasks, or avoiding them altogether. Perfectionism, waiting for the perfect time or the ideal conditions to act. Self-sabotage, engaging in behaviors that prevent you from completing tasks, like checking social media or watching TV when you should be working. Avoidance, steering clear of tasks or goals that feel too difficult or uncomfortable. It's important to recognize these behaviors as forms of resistance. The next time you find yourself avoiding a task or procrastinating, ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What's causing me to delay this? Overcoming resistance. The power of small, consistent actions. The best way to overcome resistance is by taking action, no matter how small. Resistance thrives on inaction, and the longer we delay, the more powerful it becomes. However, when we start taking small steps toward our goals, we begin to break the cycle of procrastination and resistance. The power of starting small. One of the most effective ways to overcome resistance is by starting with small, manageable tasks. Instead of focusing on the big picture, break your goal into smaller steps. This makes the task feel less overwhelming and easier to tackle. When you take one small action, no matter how insignificant it feels, you begin to build momentum. For example, if you want to write a book, don't think about the entire manuscript. Instead, focus on writing for just 10 minutes a day. This small action is often enough to bypass the resistance you feel and start making progress. The key is to start, even if the first step feels small or imperfect. The importance of consistency. Consistency is the antidote to resistance. When you show up every day, even for just a few minutes, you create a habit that reinforces your identity as someone who takes action. Over time, the resistance becomes weaker, and you begin to see yourself as a disciplined, focused individual. It's the repetition of small actions that builds momentum and breaks through resistance. This is where the power of habit formation comes into play. The more consistent you are, the easier it becomes to take action, and the less mental energy you need to push through resistance. Creating a consistent routine around your goals will help you stay focused and minimize the opportunities for resistance to interfere. Overcoming self-doubt. Believing in your ability to succeed. Self-doubt is a common companion on the path to success. It's that voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, that your goals are too big, or that you don't have what it takes to succeed. This voice can be incredibly powerful, often holding us back from taking action and keeping us stuck in fear. The nature of self-doubt. Self-doubt typically arises when we step outside of our comfort zone or face challenges. It is a natural response to uncertainty and risk. However, while self-doubt is normal, it's important to understand that it doesn't reflect reality. It's simply a mental reaction to fear or discomfort. Just because you doubt yourself doesn't mean you won't succeed. The key is not allowing that self-doubt to control your actions. Self-doubt can also arise from past experiences of failure. If you've attempted something in the past and didn't succeed, you may internalize that failure and begin to believe that you are incapable of achieving your goals. But failure is a part of success. Everyone experiences setbacks and challenges. But what separates successful people from those who give up is their ability to keep going despite the doubt. Reframing self-doubt. To overcome self-doubt, it's essential to reframe your thoughts. Instead of seeing doubt as a sign of weakness or inadequacy, view it as an opportunity for growth. When self-doubt arises, challenge the thoughts that accompany it. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have that supports my ability to succeed? What past successes can I draw on to remind myself of my capabilities? How can I view this challenge as an opportunity to grow rather than a threat to my success? By reframing self-doubt as a natural part of the process, you can begin to see it as a stepping stone toward growth rather than an obstacle to your success. Taking action despite self-doubt. The most powerful way to overcome self-doubt is to take action, even when you don't feel ready. Remember, success is not about waiting for the perfect moment or the right circumstances. It's about showing up and taking action, regardless of how you feel. Every time you take action despite self-doubt, you prove to yourself that you are capable of moving forward, even when you don't feel confident. This process will gradually diminish the power of self-doubt and help you build a stronger, more resilient mindset. The more you act in alignment with your goals, the more your confidence will grow, and the more you'll begin to trust your ability to succeed. Building resilience, developing the mental strength to keep going. Overcoming resistance and self-doubt is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong process of developing resilience and mental toughness. Resilience is the ability to keep going despite setbacks, challenges, and feelings of doubt. It's the quality that enables you to bounce back after failure and continue pursuing your goals with determination. The role of mindset in resilience. One of the key factors in building resilience is developing a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that you can improve through effort, learning, and persistence. When you have a growth mindset, you view challenges as opportunities to learn and grow, rather than obstacles that define your limitations. This mindset helps you stay motivated and committed, even when you encounter resistance or self-doubt. Instead of seeing setbacks as signs that you're not capable, you begin to see them as natural parts of the journey towards success. Resilience through consistency and patience. Resilience is also about consistency. By committing to your goals every day, even when you don't feel like it, you build mental toughness. It's in those moments of resistance when you feel like quitting that the most important progress is made. The more you stick to your commitments, the stronger your resilience becomes. Additionally, practicing patience is key to building resilience. Success rarely happens overnight, and the road to achieving your goals will often be filled with setbacks. Patience allows you to endure these challenges without losing sight of your long-term vision. It helps you maintain perspective and keep moving forward, even when the results are not immediate. Conclusion: moving forward with confidence. Overcoming resistance and self-doubt is a continual process, but with the right strategies, you can push through these obstacles and create lasting success. By taking small, consistent actions, reframing your thoughts, and developing a resilient mindset, you can transform resistance and self-doubt into powerful drivers of growth. Remember, success is not about being fearless or eliminating doubt. It's about taking action in spite of doubt, showing up every day, and staying committed to the process. As you continue to build resilience and push through resistance, you will develop the mental strength and confidence needed to achieve your goals. The key is to keep going, no matter how difficult the journey may seem. With persistence, self-belief, and the courage to act despite doubt, you will reach your desired destination and unlock your full potential. Chapter 4. Aligning daily habits with your identity. We are creatures of habit. Whether we like it or not, our daily habits define who we are. They shape our thoughts, influence our actions, and ultimately determine the course of our lives. The person you are today is the result of the habits you've formed over time. And, conversely, the person you want to become is shaped by the habits you choose to cultivate moving forward. If you want to create lasting change in your life, you must align your habits with the identity you want to develop. For example, if you aspire to become a successful entrepreneur, you need to adopt habits that reflect that identity, habits of discipline, strategic thinking, and long-term planning. If you want to be healthier, you must align your habits with the identity of someone who prioritizes well-being habits, like exercise, mindful eating, and regular rest. In this chapter, we will explore how small daily habits, the seemingly insignificant actions you take every day, serve as the building blocks of your identity and success. We'll discuss how to design habits that reflect the person you want to be, how to overcome challenges in habit formation, and how aligning your habits with your desired identity can help you create the life you've always envisioned. The power of habits in shaping identity. Our habits are more than just the tasks we perform, they are expressions of our identity. When we perform an action consistently, it becomes part of who we are. If you consistently show up for your workouts, you start to see yourself as a healthy, active person. If you dedicate time to work on your goals every day, you start to identify as a disciplined and focused individual. The key to aligning your habits with your identity is intentionality. Every habit you form should be an action that reflects who you want to become. When you take action that aligns with your ideal self, you reinforce that identity and take a step closer to the person you wish to be. The role of habit formation. Habits are powerful because they operate on autopilot. The more you repeat an action, the more ingrained it becomes in your routine. This repetition strengthens neural connections in your brain, making it easier to perform the action without thinking about it. Over time, these actions become automatic, and the behavior associated with the habit becomes part of your identity. The process of habit formation involves triggering a specific behavior, performing the behavior, and experiencing a reward. For example, if you want to develop the habit of reading every day, the trigger could be setting aside time before bed. The behavior would be reading for 20 minutes, and the reward might be the sense of accomplishment you feel after reading. The more you engage in this cycle, the more it becomes part of who you are. And as your habits align with your desired identity, you start to embody the characteristics that reflect that identity. Aligning habits with your desired identity. To develop a success-oriented identity, you must align your habits with the qualities you want to cultivate. This involves making conscious decisions to engage in behaviors that reinforce your desired identity every day. Let's explore how to create habits that reflect who you want to be. Identify your desired identity. The first step in aligning your habits with your identity is to clarify the person you want to become. What are the qualities, values, and behaviors that define this version of yourself? For example, if you want to be someone who is successful in their career, your identity might include qualities like discipline, focus, responsibility, and problem-solving. If you want to be a healthy person, your identity might include habits of self-care, nutrition, and physical activity. Take time to reflect on the person you aspire to be. What does success look like for you? And what traits or behaviors do you associate with that success? Once you have a clear picture of your desired identity, you can start to build habits that support it. Create habits that reflect your identity. Now that you have a clear sense of the person you want to become, the next step is to create habits that align with that identity. This is where the power of small, consistent actions comes into play. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in one go. Start by focusing on a few small habits that reinforce your desired identity and gradually build upon them. For example, if your goal is to become more disciplined, start by creating a habit of working on a specific task for 30 minutes every day without distractions. Over time, this habit will reinforce your identity as a disciplined person. If you want to become healthier, start by drinking more water, eating nutritious meals, or exercising regularly. These small actions will create momentum, and the more you repeat them, the more they will become part of who you are. The key is to ensure that the habits you develop are aligned with your values and support the person you want to be. The more consistent you are with these habits, the more they will shape your identity. The importance of small, consistent actions. One of the most common misconceptions about habits is that they need to be big or dramatic to be effective. In reality, small, consistent actions are far more powerful in creating lasting change. Success doesn't come from a one-time burst of energy. It's built through consistent, everyday efforts. The power of compound effect. The compound effect is the idea that small, positive actions add up over time to produce significant results. Just like putting a small amount of money into a savings account every day grows into a large sum, small, daily actions can lead to huge results over time. For example, reading 10 pages a day may seem insignificant, but in 1 year, that would amount to reading approximately 3,650 pages, equivalent to many full-length books. By focusing on the daily actions that align with your goals, you'll see compounding growth in your identity. Consistency is the key. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about showing up every day and reinforcing the identity you want to cultivate. Building habits, not perfection. When you focus on building habits rather than seeking perfection, you remove the pressure of needing everything to be flawless. Success is not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. Whether you're working on your fitness, your career, or your personal growth, the most important thing is that you keep showing up. By developing habits that support your goals, you create a foundation of discipline and consistency that will help you achieve your long-term objectives. Over time, your habits will become second nature, and your identity will shift to reflect the person you've become through your actions. Overcoming challenges in habit formation. Creating new habits is not always easy, and resistance will inevitably arise. We all face challenges when trying to establish new behaviors, whether it's a lack of motivation, feelings of self-doubt, or external distractions. The key to overcoming these challenges is perseverance and strategies for habit maintenance. Start small and build gradually. One of the most effective strategies for building lasting habits is to start small. Trying to take on too much at once can lead to burnout and frustration. Instead, break your goals into manageable steps. For example, if your goal is to exercise regularly, start by committing to just 10 minutes of exercise each day. Once that becomes a habit, you can gradually increase the duration or intensity. Starting small reduces the mental resistance you feel and allows you to build momentum gradually. Use habit triggers. A great way to ensure that new habits stick is to pair them with an existing behavior, something you already do regularly. For instance, if you want to build the habit of journaling, pair it with something you already do, like drinking your morning coffee. The existing behavior serves as a trigger that reminds you to engage in your new habit. This increases the likelihood that your habit will become automatic and part of your daily routine. Celebrate small wins. Celebrating small victories helps reinforce positive habits and builds motivation. Each time you successfully complete a task or stick to your new habit, take a moment to acknowledge your progress. This reinforces your identity as someone who is disciplined, focused, and goal-oriented. Over time, these small wins add up, and the habit becomes an integral part of your identity. Conclusion. Aligning your daily actions with your identity for lasting success. Creating a success-oriented identity is not an overnight process, but it is achievable when you align your daily actions with the person you want to become. By developing small, consistent habits that reflect your goals, you shape your identity and build momentum toward lasting success. Remember, your habits are the building blocks of your identity. Every action you take, no matter how small, reinforces the person you are becoming. The more consistently you act in alignment with your desired identity, the more natural these actions will become, and the closer you will move toward the success you seek. By starting with small, manageable habits, staying consistent, and persevering through challenges, you can create a life that reflects your highest aspirations. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. And with each small action, you're one step closer to becoming the person you've always envisioned. Chapter 5. From Identity to Success. Living the results of your actions. Success is not something that is handed to you. It is something you earn through consistent actions over time. But the most crucial piece of the puzzle is who you believe you are and how your identity influences the actions you take every day. The shift from a desire for success to actual success begins when you internalize the belief that you are the type of person who achieves success and that identity drives your actions. This chapter will explore how to live the results of your actions, focusing on how your identity shapes the choices you make and how those choices ultimately lead to success. We'll dive into the importance of living in alignment with your identity, recognizing that every action you take is a step toward becoming the person you want to be. The ultimate goal is to bridge the gap between who you are now and who you aspire to become by consistently living out your desired identity through your daily actions. Living with a success-oriented identity. The foundation of achieving long-term success is not about a single action or one moment of inspiration. Success is built through the consistent embodiment of your success-oriented identity. But what does it mean to live your identity? It means that your beliefs, values, and goals are not just concepts in your mind. They are actively reflected in your decisions, behaviors, and habits. Embodied action. Becoming the person who achieves success. When you embody your identity as a successful, disciplined person, your actions align with that identity. Success no longer feels like an external event or an abstract concept. It becomes a way of being. You act as if you are already the person you aspire to be. And that very act of alignment reinforces the identity of success within you. For example, if you see yourself as a healthy person, your identity will naturally lead you to take actions that reflect that belief: eating nourishing foods, engaging in regular exercise, prioritizing your well-being. If your goal is to become a successful entrepreneur, you will align your actions with the behaviors of someone who is committed to building a business, making strategic decisions, investing in growth, and constantly learning from mistakes. The key is that the actions you take on a daily basis are a reflection of the person you believe yourself to be. The power of self-validation. When you consistently act in alignment with your desired identity, you begin to validate your own success. It's not about waiting for external validation from others, but about affirming your own capabilities through your actions. Each time you take action, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of achieving your goals. This self-validation builds your confidence and motivates you to continue making progress, even when obstacles arise. For instance, when you act as though you are a disciplined person, whether by waking up early, staying on task, or following through on commitments, you're affirming to yourself, "I am the type of person who is disciplined." This consistent reinforcement of your identity fuels your drive and transforms your mindset, making success feel natural and inevitable. From action to result, how consistency leads to long-term success. The power of success-oriented actions is not always immediately apparent. The results of your actions are often delayed. Success takes time. This is where consistency plays a crucial role. Success is rarely the result of a single event. It's the compound effect of consistent, focused actions over time. Just as small daily habits build momentum and shape your identity, they also accumulate to produce significant results. The compound effect of consistency. One of the most powerful principles for achieving long-term success is the compound effect. Small actions, repeated consistently, lead to exponential growth. This concept is central to habit formation and goal achievement. For example, if you commit to exercising for 30 minutes every day, it may not seem like much in the short term. However, over a year, these small efforts will significantly improve your health, strength, and fitness level. Similarly, when you take consistent action toward your career or business goals, the results will begin to compound. The small steps you take today, such as networking, learning new skills, or dedicating time to strategic thinking, add up over time. The more consistent you are, the more momentum you build, and the closer you get to achieving your larger goals. Patience and perseverance. Trusting the process. One of the challenges many people face when developing success-oriented habits is patience. It's easy to get discouraged when results aren't immediately visible, but long-term success is built on the ability to trust the process. By maintaining consistency, even when results are slow to appear, you create a solid foundation that will eventually lead to big outcomes. When you trust the process, you're not relying on short-term gratification, but on the knowledge that your efforts are leading to progress. The key is to stay focused on the daily actions, rather than on the end result, and recognize that every step, no matter how small, is taking you closer to your goal. Aligning actions with purpose, connecting daily habits to long-term vision. Success isn't just about achieving results, it's about achieving the right results, results that align with your core values, purpose, and vision for your life. When your daily actions are in alignment with your deeper purpose, they become far more meaningful. You're no longer just going through the motions. You're taking intentional steps toward creating the life you truly want. Purpose-driven actions. The most successful people are often those who are deeply connected to a sense of purpose. When you align your actions with your core values, every decision becomes an extension of your larger vision. Your actions, instead of feeling like a series of tasks to check off, are imbued with meaning. You don't just work for the sake of working. You work because you're actively contributing to a vision that's bigger than yourself. For instance, if you're pursuing a career that aligns with your values, such as helping others, the daily actions you take, whether it's volunteering, developing your skills, or building your network, are meaningful and purposeful. Each step becomes a part of the bigger picture, making the process of success much more fulfilling and motivating. The role of passion in sustained action. Passion is the fuel that keeps you moving when the going gets tough. When you're connected to your purpose, passion helps you push through the moments of doubt or resistance. Passion is what makes you excited to show up every day, even when you face obstacles or setbacks. To live the results of your actions, it's important to cultivate passion for your goals. If your daily actions are aligned with something you care deeply about, you'll find that the journey itself becomes a source of joy and fulfillment. The challenge, then, is not about pushing yourself to work harder, but about finding and nurturing the passions that will drive you toward success. Sustaining success. The role of resilience and adaptability. Success is rarely a straight line. The path is often filled with detours, setbacks, and unexpected challenges. Resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks, and adaptability, the ability to adjust to changing circumstances, are key factors in sustaining success. Building resilience through consistent action. Resilience is built through consistent action in the face of adversity. The more you face challenges and push through them, the stronger your resilience becomes. It's the act of showing up again and again, even when things are difficult, that builds the mental toughness needed to achieve long-term success. When you make consistent, disciplined choices, you develop mental fortitude. The more resilient you become, the more easily you'll overcome obstacles and stay on course toward your goals. Success is not about avoiding failure. It's about being able to navigate setbacks and keep going, no matter what. Adapting to change. Flexibility in the pursuit of goals. Adaptability is another crucial trait for sustaining success. In today's world, things change rapidly, whether it's technology, market trends, or personal circumstances. The ability to adapt and pivot when necessary allows you to stay aligned with your long-term vision, even as the world around you evolves. Being adaptable doesn't mean abandoning your goals when challenges arise. It means adjusting your strategy to keep moving forward. Whether it's refining your approach to a project or seeking out new opportunities, adaptability ensures that you can continue progressing toward your desired outcome, no matter what. Conclusion. Living the results of your actions. Living the results of your actions means that you have fully embraced the identity of the person you want to become. Your daily actions are no longer just tasks. They are reflections of the person you are and the success you are creating. By aligning your actions with your identity and purpose, you are actively shaping your future, one choice at a time. Success is not a destination, it's a way of living. It's about the small, consistent actions that align with your identity and values. When you live according to the person you are becoming, success flows naturally from your actions. Each step you take builds momentum, and over time, the results of your efforts will become visible. The path to success is paved with consistency, resilience, and a deep connection to your purpose. By living the results of your actions every day, you create the conditions for sustained success and a life that reflects your highest aspirations. Success is not something that happens by chance or luck. It's built through the consistent actions you take each day, aligned with the identity you want to create. Your actions don't just reflect who you are, they shape who you become. By intentionally choosing actions that support your goals and values, you unlock your full potential and start living the life you've always envisioned. The key to success lies in developing a success-oriented identity. As we've discussed, your identity shapes your behavior, and your behavior reinforces your identity. When you see yourself as someone who is disciplined, focused, and capable of achieving your goals, your actions will naturally reflect that. This alignment between your identity and actions is what drives lasting change and long-term success. The journey to success is not about perfection, but about consistency. Small, daily actions may seem insignificant at first, but when compounded over time, they lead to extraordinary results. Whether it's waking up early to work on your goals, exercising daily, or dedicating time to learning and growth, these consistent actions build momentum that propels you forward. However, you will inevitably encounter resistance and self-doubt along the way. These forces are natural, but they don't have to derail your progress. The key is to push through them. Take action despite the fear or uncertainty. Every time you show up and act in alignment with your goals, you reinforce the identity of someone capable of success. This consistency builds resilience and confidence, making it easier to keep going even when challenges arise. As you continue to take consistent, intentional actions, you begin to embody your success-oriented identity. Over time, the person you are striving to become will be reflected in your habits, behaviors, and results. Success is not a destination, it's a way of living. It's about showing up every day, making choices that align with your values, and trusting the process. Ultimately, unlocking your full potential is about living in alignment with who you want to be. Your actions today create the foundation for tomorrow. Success is not an event. It's a series of intentional actions that build upon each other, day by day. You have the power to shape your future. Every action you take brings you closer to the person you're meant to become.